Alright, so let's change some brake pads and rotors on a 2018 RAV4. This is my sister's car that I'm helping her with. Start by removing the two little bolts that are holding the caliper on. I believe they were 13 millimeters. You're going to want to place that caliper somewhere where it's not just hanging there by the brake line. Next, we're going to remove the caliper bracket. This is what holds the caliper onto the rotor. Again, just two little bolts. One was kind of tough, so sometimes I'll use a rubber mallet if it's not coming off. Make sure to keep track of these bolts, you don't want to lose them. Now we're just giving the caliper bracket a good clean with a wire brush and some brake clean. Don't be afraid to spray a good amount of brake clean on there, it will evaporate. And these calipers and caliper brackets are pretty dirty, so this was an important step for us. Going to now remove the caliper pin. You can see it didn't have a good amount of lube on there, so we're gonna wipe off any of the gunk that's on there, and we're gonna reapply a good amount of caliper specific lubricant. That's the orange stuff. I put a good amount on there. Someone in the comments might say, hey, that's too much brake lubricant. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't really care, so I think it's a good amount. You know, I'd say just put on what feels right, and then wipe off any excess if you see any sticking out after you put the caliper back in. There you can see me reinserting the caliper, and I'll wipe off a little bit of the excess. Here I'm inserting brand new hardware. The brake pads came with new hardware. That's the silver parts. I had already removed the old hardware, so you know, pretty much just remember where the hardware was and apply the new hardware. Here you can see the brake pads, old versus new. Typically, you'll want to replace the pads when you can no longer see that line down the middle. You can see on this old pad, it's totally flat. There isn't a line anymore, so those are pretty low. Definitely ready to be replaced. Now we are going to remove the old rotor. This rear rotor wasn't too difficult to get off. Just use a couple pretty soft hits with a rubber mallet. The front ones were much more rusted and definitely required more force to get off, so just be patient. This one wasn't too bad. Figured might as well replace all the rotors at the same time as the pads though, because when you replace rotors, you need brand new pads as well. That little bottle is some gray anti-seize lubricant. Just going to apply it here where the new rotor is going to have contact with the brake assembly, so we'll also apply it on the four little bolts that are used to attach the caliper bracket and caliper to the rotor. This is the new rotor going on. Went on pretty easily. Looks way better than the old one. Just wiping off any excess. Cleaning up the caliper a bit with some brake clean and a wire brush again. Here I'm putting the caliper bracket back on. It has the brand new pads in it. Reassembling the two bolts. I did put some anti-seize on there. Here we are opening up the caliper more. As your pads wear down, this caliper will compress and get smaller or tighter and tighter. So it's important to open it up so it can fit over the new pads. We're going to apply a little bit of anti-seize lubricant on these new bolts. And finish those off. Something to keep in mind when you are putting the wheel back on, which you're going to see here in a second, make sure to do it in a star formation. Do not tighten it in a circle. Get it as tight as you can, then finish it off when it's on the ground. After you're totally done, you're going to want to pump your brakes. Just get in the car and step on the brakes several times until they feel firm. This will get the brake fluid back and recompress your calipers. That's important. If you skip this step, you will not be able to stop your car. And also check your brake fluid to make sure it's at a good level. So now just be careful and have fun learning a new skill. And here's one more picture of the old versus new brake pads. And please change yours before they get like this.